A franchise that's usually known for being fun and family-friendly is about to take a sharp turn into darker territory. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, who've been a staple of kids' pop culture for decades, are getting a bloody, brutal, R-rated live-action adaptation. And honestly, that shift makes sense, because in their original comic book form, the Turtles were way more violent before becoming the pizza-loving icons we grew up with. This new project will take them back to those roots, pulling directly from the hit comic arc, The Last Ronin. Created by Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird, Tom Waltz, and Andy Kuhn, with artwork from Kuhn and Ben Bates, The Last Ronin launched in 2020 and ran for 5 issues. The story dropped readers into a post-apocalyptic world and followed a lone surviving turtle struggling with the loss of his father Splinter and his brothers. Now, Deadline has confirmed that the live-action R-rated adaptation is officially moving forward. While details are still under wraps, it's expected to stay close to the source material, which means fans can look forward to a darker, more dramatic take on the TMNT universe than anything we've seen on screen before. The movie is being produced by Walter Hamada for Paramount, with Tyler Burton Smith handling the script. No cast or director has been announced yet, but writer Tom Waltz, who also worked on the Last Ronin sequel comic Re-Evolution, has said he'd love to see Judith Hoag, the original April O'Neil from the 90s live-action movies, make a return in this version. Creator Kevin Eastman has even compared The Last Ronin to The Dark Knight Returns, framing it as the Turtles' big final story. All in all, this movie is shaping up to be unlike anything the franchise has ever delivered before. The Last Ronin feels like it was made to be adapted, because it tells a standalone story that introduces brand new characters while still expanding on the ones fans already know. The plot takes us into a future New York ruled by a fascist tyrant named Oroku Hiroto, the grandson of Shredder. After Shredder's death, the Turtles and the Foot Clan actually struck a fragile peace, but that truce was shattered by Karai, Shredder's partner and Hiroto's mother. Her attacks led to the devastating deaths of 3 Turtles and Casey Jones. That tragedy sets the stage for a brutal revenge story, with the last surviving turtle carrying the weight of all that loss, haunted by visions of his brothers and determined to kill Hiroto. At first, the comics keep his identity a mystery. He carries the weapons of all 4 brothers, and the ghosts of his siblings are constantly with him. The story also reunites him with April, who's older now and raising a daughter that helps lead a resistance against Hiroto's dictatorship. Together, they fight back against this oppressive regime, facing off against old enemies like Baxter Stockman before building to a final showdown with Hiroto himself. And true to its noir tone, the story doesn't wrap up with a happy ending. It continues in the spin-off The Lost Years. Between the gritty revenge arc, classic characters, and big martial arts action, the graphic novel has everything a live-action movie needs to hook both longtime fans and new audiences. If your only version of the Turtles is the fun-loving, pizza-obsessed cartoon, this darker tone will feel like a shock, but that's actually where Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles began. When Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird first created them, the comics were dark, violent, and very different from the kid-friendly versions we grew up with. Over time, the edges were smoothed out, especially once the first animated series blew up worldwide. The Last Ronin drags the franchise back to its roots, giving us a raw, emotional epic that demands a big-screen adaptation. Paramount has already confirmed it'll be R-rated, which means we're in for something closer to Old Man Logan or The Dark Knight Returns. A final stand story where the stakes feel heavier because this might truly be the end. These kinds of tales hit harder because they don't worry about sequels or cinematic universes. They just focus on telling the last, definitive chapter. When James Mangold made Logan, it worked because you could feel the weight of every moment, knowing the hero might not make it out alive. That's exactly what The Last Ronin promises, a chance to sit with the pain of the last turtle, feel every loss he's endured, and watch him face the end with honor. It won't be pretty, but like the best samurai stories, it's about the warrior's final journey on his own terms. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Paramount has officially kicked off development on The Last Ronin, making it the first ever R-rated Ninja Turtles movie. For longtime fans, that's huge. It means we might finally see a turtle actually use his weapons the way they were meant to be used, no more watered-down, staged combat designed just to keep things kid-friendly. This is the darker, more visceral version people have been waiting decades for. The creative team is already looking interesting. James Wan, the guy behind Aquaman and the Conjuring franchise, is reportedly in talks to direct. And here's the wild part. The Last Ronin isn't being set up as a one and done. Paramount is reportedly laying the foundation for an entire cinematic universe nicknamed RONIN-verse. The first movie is expected to drop plenty of seeds for sequels and spin-offs. That could either turn into something incredible or blow up in their faces. The best move would be to keep the focus on making one rock-solid, self-contained, R-rated TMNT film. No clunky sequel setups, no forced post-credit scenes. If the first one's great, fans will want more all on their own. That said, this is Hollywood, and sequels are basically guaranteed. Paramount clearly sees The Last Ronin as the chance to push TMNT into a darker, more mature spotlight, and unlike so many rushed franchise expansions, this one actually has potential. If it sticks to the source material, it could be to the Turtles what Logan was for Wolverine, a raw, emotional reinvention that proves these characters are way more than nostalgia icons. According to Joe Blow, the film will follow the core beats of the comic while adding in fresh twists to keep even hardcore fans guessing. That's the perfect approach for a story this beloved. If they nail it, The Last Ronin could completely change how the world sees the Ninja Turtles. Forget slapstick humor and toned-down action. This is shaping up to be an intense, character-driven revenge story with real consequences. The Turtles are finally growing up, and The Last Ronin is leading the way. Another thing worth pointing out is the tone they're aiming for. Word is, the filmmakers want to ground The Last Ronin in a way that feels raw and physical, leaning on practical effects wherever possible. Don't expect cartoony fights or glossy CGI brawls. This is about the weight of the armor, the sting of every blade, and the pain carried by a warrior who's lived through hell. There are even rumors they're looking at casting an older actor for the surviving turtle to capture that battle-worn veteran vibe instead of just another teenager in a mask. This isn't a coming-of-age story. It's a war story about a soldier who's lost everything. Personally, I couldn't be more excited. This isn't another nostalgia cash grab designed to sell toys. It's the chance to tell a story that hits hard and sticks with you. I want to see something brutal, emotional, and cathartic. The kind of ending that feels earned, like the best samurai tales where the warrior gets to go out on his own terms. The Turtles have grown up with us, and now it finally feels like the franchise is ready to take that step into mature storytelling. If Paramount respects the material and doesn't flinch, The Last Ronin could be more than a comic book movie. It could be a milestone for the entire franchise.